Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. So let's talk about a theory I have concerning the LFM panel and why it's not quite as dead as you would think it is by just glancing at it. So before we get into that, guys, I know I haven't been uploading as much. A lot of that is because I've been putting more time into streaming. So if you want to catch me streaming, twitch.tv/AxelAlexK. I'll link it below if you're interested. I was also on the DDO Players News podcast last week, episode 297, talking DDO with Draculetta and some about my channel and some other stuff. So if you want to check that out, I will link that below in the description. But let's get into this post here. So this guy on the forums posted just explaining his experience regarding grouping and how he was really surprised at how many people were interested in his raids in particular. So let's just read the post here. So this guy says that after chatting with one of his guildies, he determined that he had a tank and a bluffer, but didn't really have anything else. So they decided to just throw up an LFM for normal Dryad and the Demigod last night, and he says here, I was shocked at how quickly it filled up, and that he had to turn folks away. I explained that what I knew about the raid, and we dove in. So essentially, he's saying that he was very surprised at just how many people were willing to join his LFM. So, and now he's talking about potentially going in and starting doing this regularly. So I think this lends me to a theory I have. And the theory is that I think oftentimes we have a situation in DDO where we have many followers and very few leaders. So many people who are willing to join an LFM, but very few people who are willing to step up and get into that leadership role, particularly when it comes to raids, but also regular quests to a lesser extent. So I think what happens a lot of the time on the servers is a lot of people are either just standing around waiting for an LFM to pop up, or they log into the game, look for LFMs, and then log out, or they just solo until they see an LFM. So the servers can actually be more alive than you would think they are. But not to say that population isn't a problem, obviously it is. I'm not trying to infer that. But I will say that if more people were willing to just step up, there would be a lot more grouping in game, and that's something that players have to actually address themselves. And I actually did a video on this. I looked back before I recorded this, and funny enough, it's almost 6 years ago. It's been that long, which was on the same topic. So if you want to check that out, it's called Start an LFM, Don't Be Scared. But anyways, I think that there's a lot of reasons why people don't want to start LFMs. I mean, obviously, it's a little scary because you got to kind of put yourself out there and you got to make decisions. You've got to be a leader. And I know that from personal experience, a lot of times it's a lot more relaxing to just join LFM. Let other people take the lead and just follow. It definitely is less stressful. But the problem is if no one steps up and is willing to start an LFM, then this situation occurs, which is my whole theory that I think there's a lot of people, I think this is a lot more common than you'd think, who just stand around in the servers or just solo. When in fact, if we had some kind of, maybe if we had an automatic grouping feature that would help, but we don't. But there is just a situation existing that a lot of players could be playing together, but they don't because no one is willing to actually step up and create the LFM. If you're someone who is apprehensive about creating an LFM, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Just the main one is just be transparent in your LFM. Just explain exactly what you want and what your experience level is. I know a lot of the times in public groups, it's all about efficiency and getting stuff done as fast as possible. But if you just post that, hey, I want to do it on R1 or Epic Elite or whatever, and I don't know the quest. If you just say, I don't know the quest, that's okay. Like, no one's going to get mad at you. And if they do, they're being ridiculous for putting up an LFM saying, hey, I want to try this. I don't know it, but I'm willing to start the LFM and try it. Because anyone forfeits their right to get mad at you since you put it in the LFM. You're upfront about it. If someone wants a super fast, efficient run, well, then you already put up in the LFM that you don't know the quest. So it's unreasonable for them to expect that. I think just the opposite. If you put up on the LFM that you don't know it, don't know the quest well, or don't know the raid well, I think you will actually find the opposite, that a lot of players are willing to join and teach it to you. Because one of the things that veterans in DDO love doing is spreading their knowledge with other players, showing people how awesome they are and how knowledgeable they are, whether that's self-indulgent or not, or if it comes from a place of wanting to generally help others, whatever it is, their players are willing to help you if you actually are upfront about it and let them know that you aren't overly familiar with the quest or raid. The only thing people don't like is they don't like being misled. So that's where you can get into problems if you just post an LFM and you don't explain your experience level. Because if you just start like a raid LFM and you don't explain in the LFM that you don't know it, people might get a little frustrated with you. So don't do that. Just be sure if you don't know it, just be upfront. And also, that's a good thing if you join a raid or even a regular quest. Just you should always tell people that you don't know it. If it's something overly complicated, or at least just give a general impression, say, hey, I'm kind of new to this, something like that. Now, certainly there are times on the servers where this isn't the case. You can start an LFM and no one joins, or maybe you want to run something unpopular like Sorrow Dusk or Temple of Elemental Evil, and not a lot of people join because it's just not a popular quest series. So there certainly are times, and there's other times like maybe late at night, or maybe you live in another country, and prime time for you is like middle of the night for people in the USA. Maybe you won't get hits, but I do think that you will get more hits than you'd think if you just put up an LFM and state what you want to do exactly. I certainly have had experiences both ways where LFMs have not been touched, but a lot of the times, particularly recently when I threw up LFMs for Saltmarsh, lots and lots of people were willing to join. So guys, that's all I had to say about this topic. I just wanted to chime in and just try to encourage people. Yeah, if you have been discouraged by making LFMs, I would encourage you to actually do it. And if you're someone who just logs in and sees no LFMs and thinks the server is dead, well, a lot of times there's no LFMs because there aren't any leaders to actually step up and post them. So if you become that person, you'll get a lot more hits than you would think. And the LFM panel itself is not necessarily a good judgment of how many players are on the server and how active the server is. Just a lot of the players haven't found their way to grouping with each other yet. So guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Have a good one. Take care.